Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. You're welcome to class with Teacher B. So today we are going to look at the topic Sukoon. Sukoon. So when we said Sukoon, this is what we mean by Sukoon. Can you see the sign? So this is the sign that is called Sukoon. This or this. So in the Quran, most times you see this. This is what you see in your Quran as Sukoon. And sometimes in other Arabic texts, you can come across this as Sukoon. So either ways, these are both Sukoon. Okay? So what does Sukoon means? So Sukoon means what? A vowelless sound. So a vowelless sound. So remember, we've learned about the Arabic vowels. We've talked about the short vowels, that is the fatha, the kasra, and the dhamma. Okay? And we know that the fatha makes the sound a, kasra makes the sound e, and dhamma makes the sound u. Okay? And then we also have the long vowels, right? The alif mad, the yaw mad, and the waw mad. Okay, so it's just a longer sound. So this will make a, make the e, and this will make the oo sound. And then there's also something else. We have the double vowels, right? That is the tanwin. We have the fathatain, we have the kasratain, and we have the dhammatain. Okay, so this ones, we're still going to talk about them. They make the, when you have it, okay, there's going to be like a nasalized sound. Okay, so this is going to be an, in, un. Okay, but these are not the focus for today's lesson. The focus for today's lesson is the Sukoon, the vowelless sound. So either appears like this or like this. So these are both Sukoon. So what happens where you have a Sukoon on top of a letter? So a Sukoon is often written above a letter. It can only appear above the letter. Okay, so this is Sukoon. This is a letter with Sukoon. This is another letter with Sukoon. So what happens when you have a letter with a Sukoon? How do you read it? Remember we said Sukoon is a vowelless sound. So it's not expected to make any of this vowel sound. Okay, so what it means is that when a letter has a Sukoon, okay, for instance, you have a ta with a Sukoon, the letters is only the letter sound that you're going to call. So all the Arabic letters from alif to ya, they have the sound that they make. So alif, for instance, we make the sound a. Okay, so on its own, just like in English, each of the letters, the A, B, C, D, have their own sound. Okay, so this is the a, b, k, d. So this is the same thing that applies to the Arabic letters. So a, b, t. Okay, a, b. Sorry, a, b, t. For the Arabic letters. So when a letter has a Sukoon, it is expected that you only call the sound of that letter itself without adding the vowel sounds to them, without adding a, e, or u to it. Okay? And the interesting part of it is that if a letter has a vowelless sound, oftentimes a letter before it will have a vowel sound. So let's say, for instance, we have letter alif with a fatha. Okay? And after it, we have letter ta with a Sukoon. Okay? So how do you read this? You're going to call the letter that has the vowel sound. So this will make the a sound. Alif, fatia, a. Ta on its own, the sound that letter ta makes is tss, tss. So you're going to attach the sound of this ta with the Sukoon to the alif. So you go at. So it's like kind of a pause sound. At. If you listen carefully, I am not saying ata or ati or atu. I am not attaching any vowel sound to the ta because it has a vowelless sound. So just call the sound of that letter. Tss, tss. So, at. Let's do another example. Let's say I have a letter ba with a what? With a kasra. And after it, I have a ta. Again, with a sukoon. How will I read this? I'm going to call the letter before it that has a vowel sound. So this is ba kasra, B. And then the letter ta with the sukoon, just the sound of letter ta. Tss. Okay, like a stop sound. So, ba kasra, B, ta, sukoon. Let's attach them together. It's going to be bits. Make sense? Let's do another one. Let's say I have a letter shin. Okay? Letter shin with a dhamma. And after it, let's use ta again. I have letter ta with a sukoon. How do I do this? Shin dhamma. What sound will it make? Shoe. Correct. Shin dhamma shoe. And remember the sound of letter ta on its own. So what do? We attach them together. Shin, dhamma, shu, ta, sukoon, shoots. So this is just an example. So when the letter has a sukoon, okay, just call the sound of that letter itself. And then attach the sound of the letter before it that has a vowel sound to the letter with the sukoon. Very simple, right? Naam, barakallahu fikum. So now let's get back to our book. Okay, so we have alif fatia a, nun fatha na, ana. Alif fatia a, nun kasroni, ani. Alif fatia a, nun domanu, anu. So now look here, we have alif fatha a, nun sukoon. Can you guess what sound letter nun will make on its own? Can you try? Well, if you said that's correct. So letter nun on its own, we make the sound Okay? So now alif fatia a, nun sukoon, an, like a pause sound, a stop sound. An. Make sense? Yeah, that is it. Okay, let's go to the one under it. Dhal dhamma dhu, qaf fatha qa, dhuqa. Dhal dhamma dhu, qaf kasra qi, dhuqi. Dhal dhamma dhu, qaf dhamma qu, dhuqu. Right? Now look here, we have dhal dhamma dhu, qaf sukoon. There is something tricky about letter qaf when it has a sukoon. Okay, so I'm going to leave this. Okay, we're going to get back to this. And I'm also going to skip this as well. Let's come here. Okay, I'll tell you why I am skipping this two later. So let's come here. So let's do this one. We have tha fatha tha, tha kasra thi, tha dhamma thu. So here we have ain fatha a, tha sukoon. Can you try? What sound does tha makes on its own? Just the sound. A very soft sound, right? Your tongue in between your teeth. So we go as. Right? Let's do the next one. Ha fatha ha, ha kasra hi, ha dhamma hu. Now we have ba fatha ba and ha sukoon is going to be bah. Let's do the last one. Ain fatha a, ain kasra I, ain dhamma u. Now we have alif fatha a, ain sukoon, a. Okay? So when a letter has a sukoon, you're just going to attach the sound of that letter itself without adding the a, e, or u to it, to the letter before it. The letter before it that has a vowel sound. Okay? So now I'm going to explain the reason why I skipped these two.